Hey, what's up everybody? Clifton here with CliftonWP. Welcome to the channel. In this tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at the Kadence Pro Theme Elements feature. We're going to be doing a deeper dive into this feature. The Elements feature of the Kadence Pro Theme is probably one of my favorite features because it allows you to really create layouts and items and hook them into your website wherever you want in a very, very easy way. You're not going to need to know any code to be able to do this. And you can really create some really dynamic websites using the elements capability of the Kadence Pro theme. So if you guys are ready to jump into this tutorial and learn some really cool tips and tricks about things that you can do with elements and Kadence, then let's jump right into it. Okay, so to have some fun with the elements, we're going to start from scratch. This is just how I like to do things. I like to start with a fresh WordPress install and go through all the steps so that everyone has the ability to kind of follow along from the very beginning. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, or the first thing you're going to need, is a fresh install of WordPress. So this is WordPress when you first install it. This is what it looks like. Now we're going to go ahead and install our plugins. We're going to need the Kadence theme. We're going to need the Kadence blocks. We're going to need the Kadence Pro theme and the Kadence Pro blocks. Now, for those of you who may not have the Kadence Pro theme, you can get the Kadence Pro theme. I'm including the link here in the description below and also in the video. This is an affiliate link, so if you purchase Kadence through my link, I do get a affiliate commission from that, and that goes to supporting the channel. Anyway, so what we are covering in here, and what happens when you get the Kadence Pro theme, is you get some additional features that are not in the free version of the theme. So right here are the premium features. There's the header add-ons, hooked elements, which we'll be covering today. The ultimate menu, I've already made a video about this, and I'll leave that link also in the description below or somewhere in this video. And then fixed elements. So we're going to talk about hooked elements, and we're going to talk about fixed elements as well. These are two fun topics and fun features that Kadence has. Then there's header photo scripts and the WooCommerce add-on as well. So this is the pricing. $59 for a single license, but you can use it on unlimited websites. Then there's the Essential Bundle, and the difference between these two is that with this one, you also get the Kadence Blocks Pro and access to Pro Starter templates, which we'll be using in this tutorial today. And then there's a full bundle, which includes every plugin that Kadence has. And there's also a lifetime bundle that just includes everything. So just get the one that's best suited to you, and then hop on over to the tutorial, and I'll show you how to use all these really cool elements. All right, let's jump right into it. So here's our fresh install. We're going to go to our dashboard. We're going to go to plugins. Actually, go to appearance first, then themes. And we're going to click on add new, and we're going to search for Kadence. Now Kadence is very popular. You probably don't need to search for it. It will come up, Kadence. We're going to install and activate. Great. And then I'm going to delete all these ones because I just like to run a lean install. So we don't need these extra themes since we're not using them. All right. Then now we need to install our plugins. So we're going to go to plugins, add new. And we're going to search for Kadence blocks. Kadence blocks is the Gutenberg add-on that Kadence has that allows your website to have page building features. So we're going to click install there and activate. And these are now our Kadence blocks activated. Now we need to install the Pro version of the theme. So if you've already bought if you already have the Pro version, you would just simply go to your account and download that from your account. So we're going to go here. I've already downloaded it. I'm going to click on plugins, add new, upload plugin, choose, and we're going to find my Kadence Pro theme here. Let's grab the most recent one. Install, activate. All right, it's now activated. I'm going to go add new again. And this time I'm going to install the blocks, the Pro blocks, Kadence Blocks Pro. So upload, choose file. Install and activate. Now we just need to add our license to this, to the install. So I'm going to go click here so that I can activate it. Enter my license key. Activate. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the Kadence Blocks Pro. All right, so now we are all set. If we take a look at our website now, it is now the Kadence version of the WordPress website. So the next thing that we need to do now is we need to theme this and add a theme. Now, I typically like to build my websites from scratch, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to just install a pre-made website so that we can go ahead and jump right into using the elements. So to do that with Kadence, Kadence has starter templates. And you can see right here from the moment we install the Kadence theme, it's been asking us to install the Kadence starter template. So let's go ahead and do that. You can also do this from the plugin repository. Now, Kadence, you can use Kadence with any page builder, and there are lots of different page builders. But the one that I prefer and I recommend is Gutenberg, only because Gutenberg automatically ships with WordPress, and it's fast becoming the builder of choice for WordPress. So there's a lot of focus on it. I think it's a good idea to really learn how to use Gutenberg, and I have some tutorials coming up and tutorials that I've already made that show you how to do that. So we're going to select Gutenberg as our builder of choice. Now that we've selected Gutenberg, we can pick any of these starter sites to be able to install and start utilizing the elements feature. So let's just pick any one that we want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select, let's select this one, digital services. Okay, I'm taking a look at it. This looks really good. Lots of white space and lots of stuff we can play with. So I'm going to go ahead and install the full site. Okay, our site's installed. Let's view it. All right, so now just a few minutes, we have a full starter site to get started with, and now we can start playing around and adding some elements to this and learn how to use some cool elements. So let's get right into that. Okay, so let's create an element. You're going to go to the dashboard. We're going to go to appearance, and over here where it says Kadence in the submenu, if you don't see the elements option, kind of like I'm not seeing it here, and you've installed the Pro Theme add-on, just go ahead and click on Kadence and scroll down and make sure that you have the hooked elements toggled on. So once you toggle it on, you're now ready to create an element. So we're going to go ahead and go to our dashboard and just use this as a refresh. And if you come back to appearance and then under Kadence, you'll see elements as a submenu. So what is an element anyway? An element is just basically a part that you can create, and it can contain blocks or it can be a block. And then you can go ahead and hook that into anywhere you want on your website that has an area where you can hook onto. So this can be before the header, it can be after the header, it can be somewhere in the content, it could be inside of the content, at the footer. Lots of different options for where you can hook in some items. So the best way to do it is really to show you how this works. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to click on Add New. Now when you click on Add New, you're going to get this element set up, and you get to choose the element type. So you have the default element, which is just the standard, hooking it into a place somewhere on the website. You have the fixed element, which is going to be fixed in place while the website's moving around. This item is going to be floating kind of on top of the website or fixed to a certain part of the website. And then you have the HTML editor, which allows you to add your own custom code. So we're going to create one of each of these so that you can see what it looks like. So let's create a default one. So we're going to call this our default element. Okay. And for this one, let's just create something that's actually pretty standard. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to do a / and I'm going to type ROW for the row layout. I'm going to select that. And I'm going to select a 3-column row layout. And in each one of these layouts, I'm going to place an icon. So the first icon that I'm going to add here is going to be a phone. Let's make this a telephone. All right, so here's a nice phone right here. And we're going to reduce the size of this. It's so big. So we'll make this C35. All right, that looks good. Then I'm going to go here and add a second icon into the second column. And for this icon, this is going to be a chat icon. Okay, so type in the word chat. And let's use this one. This looks like some speech bubbles here. And we will make this also 35. And then for our last and final one, I wonder if we could do an icon for subscribing. So let's say subscribe. No, I don't see anything like that. How about RSS? There we go. So let's do something like this. The old school subscribe link. All right. And let's also make sure that the size matches. So 35. Okay, great. Then we're going to add some color to our background here so that we can kind of see what's going on. So I'm going to select the entire row and I'm going to go to background settings. And for background color, I would like, let's do a color we can actually see. So let's go with this color here. Actually, a little darker would be good. How about this color? Okay, this is good. Let's make it this color. And then let's make our icons a little bit of a lighter color here. So I'm gonna come here, the icon color, let's go with white. There we go. And I'm just making the changes on the right side of the page here. Okay, great. So this looks pretty good. Now remember, this is our default element. So that means we can hook this anywhere that we want. So imagine that maybe this is something that's going to be an extra bar and maybe you're going to hook this to the footer, or you could also hook it above the header, right? So now that we've done this, we've created our element. Now we're just going to go and configure where we want to place this. So see this icon here? This is where the element settings for placement are. So when you select this, you have your placement options. Right now it's set up to none. You can go ahead and actually look at all the different areas where you can plug this in. So before the site wrapper, which is right at the very top of the website, or after the site wrapper, which is at the very bottom, before header, after header, this can actually be your header, so you can have it replace the header. Then you have areas for in your content where you can plug this in. And then after the content hero title, and then you can even replace the above content hero title. It's actually pretty cool areas where you can hook this stuff in. So you can see there's a lot of options here. So for our purposes, just to make it really easy, we're going to go ahead and hook this below the footer. So we'll just put this here after the footer, okay? And then for the display settings, here you get to choose where you want it to show on. So you can either have it show on a specific page or post, search results, or your 404 page. In this case, we just have it show up on the entire page, okay? And you also have exclude settings in case you want to exclude any pages, and then user settings. So you can actually narrow this down to specific user role types or logged in or logged out users, okay? For now, we're just going to leave this alone. And then device settings, I can say, well, I want this to show up on a desktop or on the mobile device. And expire settings means that you can actually choose when this will stop showing. So you can select a date sometime in the future when you don't want this to show, but we're not going to use that right now, okay? So for right now, we're just going to do an after footer. I'm going to go ahead and save the work. And then now when we visit the website, and if we scroll down, we are going after the footer, we can see we now have these elements over here, right? So this is where we've hooked it into. Now, what if I wanted this to be before the footer? Okay, it's very easy. I just go back to the dashboard, go to Appearance, Cadence, Elements, then select Edit, go to my placement settings, and now I'm going to put it before the footer, Update. And then when we view the page and we scroll down, we can see here now that it is before the footer. So you can literally hook this anywhere on any page, anywhere that you want, right? Now, a really good use of something like this would be on a mobile device, right? Because on the mobile device, you may want to have a couple of icons where people can easily click and reach you. But we'll do that in a different type of element, maybe on a fixed one where it's actually floating on top of the website. So that is the default fixed element. And like I said, you can actually fix anything you want to any section of the website. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and do the fixed element next. Okay, so let's have some fun with some fixed elements. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard here, and I'm going to go to Appearance, and we're going to go to Cadence and select Elements. Now we're going to do something quite similar here. So I'm going to click on Add New, And this time I'm going to select that I want a fixed element. So this will give me a different set of options right here on the right side when it comes to things like the placement, right? So the placements are a little bit different. They're fewer, but these are places where you can fix whatever we create here, we can affix to these different areas right here. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So we're going to go ahead and call this our fixed element. And because we might create multiple ones of these, let's just call this fixed element 1. And then what we're going to affix this time is we're going to use the same example. We're going to use icons, but let me tell you, you can actually affix anything. You can affix any block, any container, or any layout, pretty much anything you want, you can affix to your website. But this just makes it very easy to show you how this works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open up the Gutenberg blocks, and we're going to use Kadence blocks in this one, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select an icon. So here's our icon. And for this one, let's go ahead and just do a little icon navigation, right? So here's an icon here. I'm going to go over here to this icon, and we're going to change this to the home key. So this will be an icon that someone can click on to go back to the home page. Let's spell home correctly. There we go. So I'm going to select the home key for this icon. And I want this icon to be aligned to the left. And then let's do some configurations here in terms of style. You can leave it like this, but I want it to be a little bit more distinct so that we can see it when we go to the front end. So I'm going to come here, and under the default style, we're going to change this to stacked. It's going to put this square box around it. And then let's give it a very light background color. So something like that, or maybe a little lighter. There we go. And then let's make our border something fun. And I'll make the border a little bit thicker. I'm just trying to do something that you can actually see once we look at it on the front end. And then for the icon color itself, let's do the same color as the border. All right. And then for a hover effect, let's do something that we'll see. So I will go with a white color for the hover effect, and the background effect is going to be something really dark like that. So let's hover over this. All right, that's looking pretty good. So that's our hover effect. Maybe I want something a little different. Being picky, so let's make this a vibrant pinkish fuchsia color, and then the border will make the border white. So now we have our first item. Now the item is the icon's a little bit big, so let's make it a little smaller. So I'm going to come here, and we're going to go to the icon size. I'm going to change this to 40 to see how that looks. That looks great. And then right here where it says padding, we're going to reduce this padding to 10. There we go. So now that looks like a nice little home button. Okay. Then let's create some additional buttons that are based on this button. It's going to be very easy to do. Just click on this right here, click on the options, and click on duplicate. And then we'll do it one more time and duplicate. Okay. So now we have 3 icons. Just so you know, one of the cool things about icons in Kadence or Kadence Pro is you can actually increase the number of icons going horizontally, right? So if I said I wanted 2 of these, I can increase it like that, right? So now I have them going all the way across, but I don't want that. That would take up too much space. So let's just make it, I'm going to make this horizontally because we're going to stick this to the side of our website. So now now all we need to do here is just create a little bit of space between these. So I'm going to select the first one. I'm going to come here down to the margin. I'm going to separate out the margin so that it gives me each margin space. And so with that, and I want the bottom margin, and I'm going to add 20 pixels between that. All right, great. And then we'll do the same thing with the second one. Separate it out, 20 pixels. And then we're going to change the icon. So we have different icons. So let's go to the second one, and we'll make this a phone icon. So like a call. And this one, we'll make this a support icon. And you can just type phone again, and we'll use this as our support. So you can contact support with that. And then let's do one more icon just for fun. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And let's create some space for that one as well. So down to the margin, separate it out, and we'll do 20 pixels. And then we'll select this one and we'll make this icon a contact icon. So how about an envelope? I like that. Or that one's better. Okay, great. So now we have our icons all set up. And then we're going to go ahead and now configure this. So now that we've done that, the next thing that we need to do is we need to tell Kadence where we want to affix this element. Where do we want this to go? So you're going to select the element settings right here, which is this settings icon right here. And the placement that we want here is we want this placement to be, so here are the options. We can fix it to the top. We can fix it above the transparent header. We can fix it to the top after you start scrolling. So that means if it's affixed to the top, once you start scrolling, then it will show up. Okay. You can fix it to the bottom after scroll. So after you start scrolling, it shows up on the bottom. You fix it to the bottom after scroll, fixed on the bottom, and fixed bottom, no space below footer. And that is this is actually better for like your modals and things like that. So what I want to do is I'm going to fix it to the top after scroll. And what this is saying is fix this to the top of the page for me, and only show it after scrolling once the scroll distance reaches 300 pixels of the page. So now this is going to be about a third of the page. So I really want this a little bit lower. So I'm going to make this 500. So what that's saying is once I load the page at 500 pixels of scrolling, go ahead and show these icons. Okay. Next, we need to display where is this going to show up. I want this on the entire site. So no matter what page you're on, I want you to be able to see this because this will navigate to wherever I want. And let's just put a link here on this one just to kind of show you that these actually do work. So I'm going to select this, go to, all right here is where you put in the link. Okay. This little icon you're seeing here, this is a dynamic link. So if we were doing something with dynamic content or custom post types and things like that, this is where you would grab that information and you can create templates with that. And in a future video, we're going to be talking about custom post types and specifically custom post types with Kadence. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, great. So now this is done. I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And then let's take a look and see what happens when we go to the front end. So I'm going to go to a separate tab here and we're just going to load our site. And right now you notice that nothing's happened. You're not really seeing anything. But once you start to scroll, see what happens there? See our icon shows up right there at the top, right? And now as you're scrolling, now if I go back up, it disappears. If I go to another page, let's go to this pricing page and I start to scroll. Now I have these icons again. If I click on this one, it takes me right back to the home page. So anytime I start scrolling, things start to show up. So if you have something, maybe you have a special or a gift or a coupon or an opt-in or pretty much anything you would like to just show up on your site, this is how you set that up. Okay. Now, what if I don't want it to be so affixed to the top like that? I'm going to show you how to change that. Okay. So let's go back to this element right here and let's go back to the element settings, which is this icon right here. Click on that. And right here where it says width, okay, right here where it says width, you can click on this and we can change this to a fixed width. Okay. When you do that, it gives you the options of the width of the item. So how much of space is this occupying, right? So I can reduce this if I want. Maybe my icon's about 30 pixels. So I could just say I only want it to take up about 90 pixels of space here, right? So right here, I don't want it to take up too much. And then position is left, which is fine, which is where it is. The X distance from the edge, okay? So the X distance from the edge is how far away from the edge do I want this? So this X distance is actually the distance from the edge going horizontally. The Y distance is the distance from the edge going vertically, so up and down. So what I want here is I just want to create maybe 10 pixels away from the edge, and horizontally I want this to be about 300 pixels away from the top. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this and then check out our work. So I'm gonna go ahead and refresh the page. And then once you start scrolling, you will notice that now instead of showing up affixed to the very top, it's now showing up about middle of the page, right? So this is a little bit more user friendly for somebody versus it being, bunched up at the top there. So now we have our elements right here on the side, and this is a fixed element. This is how fixed elements work. So right now this is going to be affixed here. It's going to stop right when we get to the end, and you can see our other element that is affixed to this section. That's kind of locked in, hooked into this section. But this one floats on top, and that's the difference between having the default element, which is just stuck here, and this element, which kind of floats on top of the page and creates this really cool dynamic effect, right? And our link still works. When we click on it, it still takes us to the home page. And as we start to scroll, it has this nice appearing effect again, all right? And that is how you create a fixed element, all right? So next up, we're going to do one more with the elements here. We're going to create an element that's going to impact the header. If you look at this header right now, you notice that we have this button and it says get started. Now, one of the things with Kadence is if we go to customize, for instance, and we go to header, and we're dealing with a transparent header on this one, right? The transparent header settings are all the way at the bottom. So this is your normal header settings. Right here are the transparent header settings. So if I select this, then I can make changes to my transparent header. Now, we're not going to make any changes to a transparent header per se. I just wanted to show that. What I do want to show you though is if we look at this header and over here at this tray, you'll see here we have the logo, which is that logo right there, and you have primary navigation, which is this navigation right here, and then we have our button. If you click on the button, now you can make changes to the button, and the button has a lot of great things you can do to make changes to it. But there is one thing that you can't do to this button, and that is you can't add an icon to this button. See? So you can't add an icon to the button. And even if you go to design, there's no area here where you can add on an icon. And sometimes you might want to have a button here that has an icon, or you may want to have something else here instead of a button. And the header section does give you all these nice widgets and all these nice elements to be able to do that. And so, but there's still a limited amount of items. But that doesn't have to stop you. You can have anything that you want here in this header area because of the power of elements. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. We're going to create an element that is a button that has an icon, and we're going to put it right there. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard. We're going to go to Appearance, Kadence, click on Elements, and we're going to click on Add New. This element is going to be a default element. This is just going to be a button that we're going to place in our header, and it's going to be a button with an icon. So just click on Default, and we'll call this Custom Header Button, and let's say icon. Okay, and then we're going to select the advanced button from Kadence Blocks, and we're going to call this one, let's call this Instant Quote, because this specific theme is a digital agency theme. So we'll call this Instant Quote, and maybe this is like a button where they can click it and they can get a quote. Maybe later on we can add a modal to this so that when you click on it, it pops out a quote form. That would be cool. Okay, so Instant Quote. Then the next thing that we need to do, we need to configure this button. So let's go ahead and click here. And what I want to do is I do want a custom button size. So you can actually pick these standard ones where it's small, medium, and large. But I want a custom size. So if you click on the icon right here, you have options to be able to add some padding to the top and bottom. And I definitely want to do that. So the padding that I'm going to use for the top and bottom is 13 pixels. And the padding that I'm going to use for the left and right side is 30 pixels. Okay, so this will allow me to have a button that's very similar to the one that we're seeing on the front end of the site. Okay, so 13 for the top and bottom, and the left and right, 30 pixels. Then the next thing that we want to do here is we want to change the color. So the color is going to be white, and I would like a very distinct background color to kind of separate it from all the other buttons that are on the site right now. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make this sort of candy more of a candy pink, not red per se, but there we go. A little more, yeah, like that. That's perfect. So FF005E, candy pink, and make it very noticeable. And then the border color is going to be the same exact color. So just copy the color from the first one and make the border color the same. All right. Then we're going to set up the hover for this one as well. So the text color on the hover. So this one I'm going to make it yellow. So I'll make it when you hover over it, it's going to be yellow, but I still want the text color to be a dark color. So this color is going to be dark, maybe like a, there we go. That's dark, close to black almost. And then the background color is going to be a yellow sort of mustard color. Let's go like that. And if you're wondering why I'm picking these colors, these are sort of colors that are already on the site, on the page, but this is going to separate the button from the other blue buttons that are out there that are on the page already. So I like this color here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the hex code F9AC00, and I'm going to make that color the border color as well. Okay, so now when I hover over, you can see that mustard color is right there. And maybe I would like this color to be a little lighter, so a little more yellow in there. That's a little brighter right there. Okay, so I'm gonna take that and we'll adjust the main background. So I really want this to stand out. Exactly, just like that. Okay, so now that we have this, the other thing we want to do is that the buttons on the home page or on this website have a border radius on them. So we're going to find the border radius option, which is right here. If you scroll all the way down to border settings, you'll see the border radius, and I'm going to set a border radius to 50 pixels. Okay, so that's going to give me sort of that same shape as what I have on the front end of the site. All right, our button's looking really good. And then the only other thing left to do is I do want to set the font for this button. So I'm going to come here, look for the font family, and the font family for this specific template is Jost, J-O-S-T. So let's do that. There we go. And then the font weight for it is a little thicker like that. Okay, so now it matches all the buttons that are on the front end. So the next thing that we want to do here is we want to add our icon, right? So we want to, direct some attention to the button with an icon. So that is going to separate our button from the header button that comes by default. So remember, we can't have an icon in that one that comes from the header widgets, but because we can create anything we want in Elements, we're going to be able to put an icon in this one. So I'm going to come here, select icon. And for this one, I'm going to search for a hand. I kind of want a pointing hand like this. And I want that to show up on the left side. There we go. And let me see, what does that look like when we hover? That looks good. So our button is done. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this just to save my work. And now we need to do one last thing. We need to set up the settings for this element. So this is a default element, so I'm going to click on element settings right here, and the placement for this is going to be none. So typically you're using a placement if you're putting this button in a certain part of a page or the website, but we're not going to be doing that. We're going to leave that at none, but for display settings, we want to show this on the entire site. So wherever we put this, we want, no matter where you are on the website, we want you to see this button, okay? And then everything else just leave alone. We're going to click update. And now our button is set and ready, okay? So now we're gonna go to the front end of the website. And if you notice right here, we have our standard header with the header button that comes by default when you use the customizer. So we're gonna open up our customizer, and when you go to header, or down here in the tray, we have this button, okay? So this button is coming from the available items that you have here, and you only have 2 of them in Kadence, right? You got the button 1 and this is button 2. That's what this button is, right? But we've created this button, and we want this button to be right next to this button, or you could replace it entirely. So whatever you choose, but we're going to put it right next to it. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to go back here. I'm going to exit out of the editing section, and right here where it says custom header button icon, if you go over to the right, you will see the short code for this button. So because all Kadence elements have short codes, this allows you to actually put these elements anywhere that you want on your website that will accept a short code. Basically an HTML section or even a post content section, you can insert these elements anywhere. So I'm going to grab this element. I'm going to go back to the header settings here, right? So in the customizer, just for those who may not have seen how we got here, customize. We're going to go to the customizer. We're going to go to the header. And while you're in the header right here, we're going to grab this HTML item, okay? And we're going to drag this item right next to the button that we have right now, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and edit this item. I'm going to go to text, and we're going to paste in our element, just like that. Our element shortcode. And leave everything else the way that it is. Matter of fact, if we look right now, you will see that the instant quote is already showing up. Now all the styling is missing, but that's because we're in the customizer. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this now and exit the customizer. And now you can see that our instant quote is right next to our regular header button with the icon in place. So you see that? So if you wanted an icon and this button wasn't good enough for you, you can just create one as an element and then populate it in there. So you can either have them both show up there, or if you want, you could remove this one entirely and just have it say instant quote with the icon, or create another version of this one and add an icon. Whatever you want to do, you can absolutely do it with the Kadence Pro theme. And this is one of the things that I love about this element. So with that, that is going to conclude this tutorial on elements. I hope you learned something from here, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hey, if you are new to the channel and you have not yet subscribed, would appreciate it if you subscribe. And if you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button to help me with the YouTube algorithm. And then go ahead and give Kadence a try. Try out these different aspects of it and modify your sites any way that you want. I'm going to be creating a lot more tutorials on Kadence and all the different aspects of it. Matter of fact, we're going to be focusing on custom post types and being able to pull in dynamic data and create dynamic content with the Kadence theme. So stay tuned for that. I want to thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and for those of you that have subscribed, thank you so much for doing that. Those of you that are watching, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.